Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Robert, and today I want to discuss Dungeon Solitaire, Labyrinth of Souls. This is a game, a tarot card game that you can start playing with as little as a standard deck of cards, okay? And this is a game that I discussed in my games you can play on an airplane tray video. I'm gonna go ahead and link you to that. And even though this looks like it occupies a lot of space, normally it does, I do show you a little trick in that video where you can make this game fit on a smaller table. So check that out if you're interested. So in this game, which you can try it for free, by the way, you don't have to purchase this book, which is available on Amazon, and also it's available online. I'll leave you a link to that. But you don't need to purchase the book if you want to try it out. If you want to try the version of the game that you can play with just a standard deck of cards, I'll leave a link to that as well. But if you do buy the book, it opens up a lot more possibilities as far as the modules and the different things that you can do in the game, all right? More variability. So as the name of the game implies, this is a dungeon crawling game. You run it with just a standard deck of cards or a tarot deck, and if you start with just the standard deck of cards, it is very, very simple. You can then graduate to a tarot deck, of which, by the way, this was my introduction to tarot decks. I've never bought one before I found out about this game, and I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with it. Okay, because there's tons of tarot decks out there, and I was fascinated with the all the various tarot decks that are out there, and I ended up buying a couple. Okay, and you'll notice that the tarot decks that I'm using, they do not they're not the standard tarot size, which are pretty tall. Okay, these are standard size. This is a standard size tarot deck. This is a like a mini American almost size tarot deck. I'll show you this in a second. But yeah, I didn't buy any actual tarot size card decks, even though I saw some gorgeous ones. But the reason is this game is a bit of a table hog, so I'm glad that I was able to find some smaller alternatives. So I went down the rabbit hole of tarot decks, and these are the two that I love the most. After I moved on from the standard card version of the game, and I wanted to try the tarot card version. So this is a Dreams of Gaia deck. Okay, gorgeous deck, as you can see. And one thing with this game, depending on the type of deck that you pick, all right, to play it with, it adds a lot of flavor. All right, you'll see the deck that you see here is so after you play the tarot card version, you can then buy a Dungeon Solitaire deck that includes extra cards, right, and extra rules for it. So if you want the full version of the game, you can buy this deck from the game Crafter, which is what you see on the table there. But this the tarot decks that you buy, if you stay with depending on the rule set that you're playing with, this will allow you, to just change its table presence. So, like the mood will change based on the deck that you play with. And this was a pleasure to play with this deck right here. Very fun. Kind of the illustration kind of tell a story in of themselves. Okay, let me show you the other one. I'll talk about how the rules change in between, depending on the type of deck that you use. So this is the other deck that I tried out. This is a Gilded Tarot mini card size deck, and this is my favorite one out of the bunch. I think the illustrations in this one are absolutely gorgeous. And technically, I'll explain later. If you don't want to buy the full tarot version, you could proxy those cards that are included in the full Labyrinth of Souls deck. You could proxy them. I'll talk about that. But yeah, if it wasn't for that, I would. This is the one that I would use mostly. All right, just gorgeous illustrations. And I had to cut my own sleeves for this because there wasn't. I couldn't find like properly sized sleeves for this, so I had to take like bigger sleeves and cut them to size. And they all of these tarot decks come in their own box, and I had to like make like just a small cardboard box. They don't fit. I'm a degenerate that sleeves everything. I'm not like they don't cater to people like me who sleeve everything, so I had to come up with a way to store them. So you saw just what I did there for the Gilded Tarot deck. This box, luckily, it does fit backslid for the most part, if you take the Arcana book out. Okay, so you have those, and then you have this deck that you can order from the Game Crafter, okay? And it has custom illustrations. So what is the deal, and why can you play with multiple decks, all right? So the basic rule set, which you can download online, like I said, I left a link. You can play and try the game out, see if you like it. So the game does a pretty good job of with just a simple rule set. You flip a card and you start navigating through the dungeon, right? And then to win, you have to turn around. So let's say that you go down like this, right? This way. And then if you want to escape and win the game, you have to turn around. You start here, and then each of these represents a room. And as you flip cards, you're going to create the rooms. And the book and the rules will tell you what each card does. And if you exit the dungeon and you survive, you might win, but you have to collect the kings, all right? At least in the basic version. Later, as you acquire tarot decks, if you go from a standard card deck to a tarot deck, you'll have to collect the 3 heavenly gems, all right? The moon, the sun, I forget what the third one was, but the moon, the sun, and the stars. I think the third one was the 3rd heavenly gem. So you have to collect them if you want to win. Like, that's the actual win condition. Surviving isn't necessarily where it stops. You have to escape with the heavenly gems, or in the basic version, you have to escape with the kings. All right, the 4 kings. So the game has some, in all versions, it has some timing mechanisms. Okay. So there's torches, which the aces represent. And if you find all 4 torches, it means that your torches ran out and you lose. Later, there's and that's just with the standard deck of cards. If you play with a tarot deck, you'll have the devil and curses, and if you find the 2 curses, you lose. All right. Now there's mechanics like just by virtue of just flipping the deck and encountering dungeons. If you encounter both curses in the same or across over the course of the game, if you encounter both of them, you lose. But as you increase the size of the deck, from going from a standard deck to a tarot deck, they do also add more solutions. So there's ways of dealing with curses, there's ways of dealing with torches, and also if you end up buying this deck, which is the biggest one, it's almost 100 cards. They add a 5th torch, for example. So if you buy this deck, there's about 10 more cards added. Okay, which you can see here. Okay, so as you can see, and this is split in this, right? So you have. For the reference of the card, so this is what you can do with a standard deck, right? Then if you add a tarot deck, you go up to here, and these are the cards that what each card represents, right? And then if you buy the full version, you're gonna go up to here, right? So there's the advanced cards. So that's what and rules for what each of those do is what you get with this book. Okay. Now, as far as just playing, going from the basic rules all the way to advanced rules, at about page 46, that's where that stops. All right, so that's just going through this will give you everything you need to going up until page about here. Page 45, this is what will give you everything, so that you play with the most complete version, which is with this. And everything else is just more modules, more a campaign mode, a 2-player mode, Arcana description for folks that are into tarot reading, some illustrations, house ruling. So this book includes a lot for making your game more varied, different game modes, and so something that you can explore with this. There's also another standalone book that you can buy. I think it's called The Devil's Playground, which I'll put it up on the screen. And that includes even more. So just more modes, more modules. I'm pretty happy with this already. I haven't even explored this fully. The campaign mode assumes that you survive the advanced mode, which is the highest one. So yeah, the game assumes that you have the advanced, the campaign mode assumes that you have the advanced deck, and if you survive the dungeon, okay, even if you don't collect the heavenly gems, if you survive the dungeon, you there's some stuff that happens in between games, so it adds a campaign step basically. And for that matter, for the campaign deck, you can bring dice, okay, because in the campaign you can gain loot, and there's a table. There's a table where you'll obtain items, right? You'll obtain experience and things like that, and gold. And when you roll, you will be able to tell what item you gain, or you can use a second separate tarot deck. Okay, so if you don't want to carry two tarot decks, you can just use these. All right, but yeah, so tons of rules. I have not survived an advanced game yet. I've only played the advanced game a couple times, but I haven't survived it, so I have not experienced the campaign step yet. But I really like this as a one-off game, and I just think it's remarkable what it does. Just with a standard deck of cards to a tarot deck to a custom deck, right? This deck comes with illustrations, and the illustrations are great. The quality, it can be a bit inconsistent with some of the illustrations, but in general, great. I love most of the illustrations, just very well illustrated, very atmospheric, and the custom deck, which again you can if you don't want to buy the custom deck or you don't have access to it, you can just use the health cards, right? So even with a standard deck, these cards don't ever get shuffled into the deck. The hearts are just used to, or the cups in a tarot deck, they're used to track health points, all right? So if you don't want to buy the deck, you can proxy it, and you just shuffle this in the deck, and you proxy and you use the card reference, and instead you can just track your health with dice or with some other method, okay? But these cards you see here, you can just represent them using the health cards, all right? If you would not like to prefer buying this. But this is a 130 something page book. I've only gone up to about the 70th page with the campaign stuff. But even though this might look like a lot, it's very well written. It's just a pleasure to read. Sometimes when I see rule books, I just dread the length. If it's more than 30 pages, I dread reading it. Most rule books are just very utilitarian, all right? They don't really add much flavor. I mean, there's tons of rule books out there that add like a little bit of story or a joke in there. But even though this is very wordy, compared to most rule books that we see, this has illustrations. There's flavor, and it does an exceptional job of teaching the game. There's even a step-by-step, there's a walkthrough where it tells you to arrange the deck a certain way, and you'll just play turn by turn and it'll explain everything. I see very few games do this these days because there's so many possible game states that, I understand that that's not possible to do with a lot of games, but I really appreciate this offering me a way to walk through the game with a video or something like that. Stack the deck in this order, and I'll walk you through it. Just great job with that. Just a pleasure to read. And because don't get me wrong, there's simple games that sometimes rule books fail miserably at explaining, even if they're simple games. So for how simple this game is, they did a good job explaining it. Just because your game is simple, don't take it for granted that it'll be easy to explain necessarily. But yeah, just a lot of there's just a lot of gameplay. Just if you between this book and just a tarot deck of your choice, maybe you already have one at home. This is just a pleasure and a great experience. Great, and it plays quick. Tells a story really quick. Plays great. You have an inventory, you have health. There's timing elements that you have to deal with. Food. Oh, that's the thing. When you buy this full version for the advanced rules, so you have the torches, you have the curses, and then there's food rations that you have to deal with. So you have another timing element that you have to deal with. So it gets pretty tough, but when you survive, when you pull it off, feels great. There is definitely some decision making. It's not just It's not 100% luck based. You can decide to drop gold to deal with monsters. You can decide to use your knights, which are basically auto resolve, like auto win against certain encounters. So you decide when to use them. And there's also other like potions and things like that that you can decide when to use them. Okay. So it's not just flip a card and see what happens all the time. There's definitely some decision making, but you're at the mercy of the deck. You have to make a call of when you've delved too deep and when to turn around to see if you can walk away with your spoils. So very interesting game that you can try today just with the basic rule set. I fell in love with it when I first tried it. Honestly, I had never had an excuse to buy a tarot deck before this, and now I did. And it's just remarkable how this offers a dungeon crawler experience just with either a standard deck or a tarot deck. I have to repeat that. It's just so well done. And the rulebook's so well written. It's affordable. You probably already have a tarot deck at home, so I recommend it. So yeah, that's Dungeon Solitaire, Labyrinth of Souls. And you might go down the tarot deck rabbit hole, and you'll go find a tarot deck that you like. So have fun with that if you end up being interested in this. But yeah, so if you folks have any questions, comments, feedback, go ahead and put them in the comment section. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.